don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. In my heart I have but one desire, and that one is you, no other will. I've lost all ambition.
And welcome everyone to Greetings from Beyond Radio. I'm your host, Rich Valdez, and as usual, my co-host, Vicky Burnett. And I'm not going to tell her to say hi today, just because. She's just going to give us a thumbs up. Either way you look at it, last week was a debacle thanks to Wi-Fi. Technology, gotta love it. Went down on us twice. It was supposed to be episode 10. So since there was no episode 10 season 1, today is episode 10 season 1. And what better way to start it off with than someone that I have a great deal of respect for and love for. I treat her and love her like a little sister. And for all I know, she's possibly older than I am. It's just that she keeps it well, you know. It's amazing these days. But before we go any further, let's give credit where credit is due when it comes to Greetings from Beyond Radio and where you can hear us on a regular basis. We are just about broadcast anywhere and everywhere nowadays. So Greetings from Beyond Radio, as you can see on your screen, you can watch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Music, the Paralanx, iHeartRadio, podcast, link or index, actually. Listen notes. Look at that. I'm losing my eyesight. Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcast, although they're giving us a little issues when it comes to them. Google, and also we have Pandora. Although people are always going to confuse Pandora with the actual bracelet. It's an actual thing. Pandora actually has their own listening devices. So that being said, my guest I have really known for, I think, well over a decade now, way over a decade. And I was honored to actually have been allowed to join. I didn't ask to, but John Zaffis actually asked me and Scott Morrow to join at that time a little unknown team called Prisney. Little did I know it was not a little team, it was a huge team with a lot of members, and Beth Ezzo happened to be one of them. And of course, Beth Ezzo, back and forth, we talked, got to know each other, had a lot of things in common. And then one day I found Beth on my new favorite show over a decade ago, can you believe it, called Haunted Collector. And there she was with the boss man. I was like, oh, cool. Well, I finally get to see them in action, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be there to enjoy these investigations with them. So regardless, Beth has been in this a very long time when it comes to the paranormal. I want to get to know her a little bit better, and I'm sure Vicky has her own set of questions to ask while we're doing the show. So please, with no further ado, help me welcome to the show a very dear friend of mine, Beth Ezzo. Welcome to the show, Beth.
Hi.
Hi. I can still hear me. So Beth, one question I've never even thought of asking, quite frankly, and I think it's funny. How did you get started in the paranormal?
So it kind of went back to my elementary days in school. There was this book, I've talked about it before, and I can't remember the name of it, which really bugs me, but it was about ghosts, UFOs, spontaneous human combustion, all that kind of stuff. And I would take it out all the time. I'm sure my mom was like, what the heck is this girl doing? But that piqued my interest really early. And I just kind of rolled from there. You know, then you're watching Vincent Price stuff, House on Haunted Hill, getting more into it as a kid. And which eventually led me to seeing Ed and Lorraine Warren quite a few times, which led me to meeting a woman who pointed me in the direction of John.
How young were you when you learned, oh, you can't hear me now.
I can hear you.
Okay. How old were you when you met John?
I was a teenager.
So 15, 16, 17.
16 maybe.
16. Okay.
Around there.
Can you imagine, Vicky?
So, see, we lived in the wrong place. I would imagine you lived in Connecticut back then, too. So, yeah, we were just not in the right place, Rich.
I know. Miami and South Florida, to be honest with you, was, I mean, we have our little haunted, places here and there, but not as much as Connecticut. I mean, every time what's the most haunted location that you've ever investigated in Connecticut?
In Connecticut. Not known. It probably, it was a private home. It's not anywhere that you would know. As far as location wise, that would be known. A lot of the buildings aren't there up near where John lives. And now at this moment, the name of the house is obviously eluding my brain. The Phelps Mansion.
Okay.
But it's not there, but the grounds are still there. You can go walk on it and do stuff. And there's a couple of the sheds and garages left. So you can go there.
Well, I can tell you on a road trip when I was going to Salem, as soon as I hit Connecticut, my GPS went out. And I had to pull over and hope everything rebooted in order for me to find my way. But yeah, it was fine until I got to Connecticut.
Something eerie about Connecticut. I'm telling you, just about I guess it's the location. I don't know.
It's rich in history, so there's a lot here.
Yeah, that's true. So 16-ish would have been around the time you started.
Yeah.
What was your first paranormal experience?
Oh, with John or on my own?
On your own.
Oh, as a kid, I used to sleep in my room and I would hear snoring coming from underneath my bed. And I would run around and I would check my sister and my mother, and nobody was sleeping. They were both awake and I would still hear it. And come to find out, I was telling my grandmother that, and she's like, oh, I know who that is. I'm like, well, who is it? And she's like, that is your great grandfather who used to sleep in that room, and the dog would sleep under the bed and snore. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
So that's my first memory that I remember of having something happen.
That is. So was it your grandfather or was it your dog?
No, it would have been my great grandfather, and it was his dog that would sleep under the bed with him, and the dog would snore.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a first. I've always heard people say I saw a shadow person or this or my grandparents, but
nope,
this was a dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people have asked me to read about animals and ones that they've lost. And what I've been shown a lot of times is animals will stay here.
Yeah.
And they stay around for a while, and you can hear their feet. I've never heard of snoring, but you can hear their feet moving, or you'll hear certain things that they did in the house all the time. But they animals tend to stick around here.
No, 100%.
I find it interesting whenever people do come across their actual pets. It just shows that even in the afterlife, there's room for our pets, our beloved pets.
Yes,
that's a good thing. You have done several projects other than just the Haunted Collector, but let's talk about the Haunted Collector a little bit. Was this an opportunity given to you
Well, he gave the producers different people. The producers then picked from the people who they wanted to test, and then for the test we were picked.
And as we can see there, we have John's daughter and son, yourself, that hippie behind him, Brian J. Kano at that time. Love the guy. Actually, that's the first thing that John told me to tell him when I first met him back in 2011. He said, "Tell that hippie to cut his hair and stop handing out flowers." So, how did your experience being part of this once in a lifetime show that covers haunted items? How was that for you?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was a good experience. I don't think people necessarily realize how hard it is, though, when you're on the road constantly and you don't know when you're coming home. So it's, everything's kind of up in the air, and you're going every 4 days or so, you're on a plane going somewhere else. So while it was fun, it's also kind of stressful sometimes.
So it would be, 4 days of filming?
No, typically it would be 3 days of filming.
Okay.
And then that travel day. And then you'd go to the next spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's just no way around that. I mean, you have no choice. They already have the cases lined up for you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So you have to go and take care of that.
Yep.
So what was the most intriguing case? I want our producer to put up a picture of you guys in action. And I want to test your memory.
Oh, God.
To see. We got to try here. All right.
I know where that is.
All right. Yeah, I know who that is, and I know who that is, but
I know where that is, though. I'm pretty sure I know where that is. And that was in Connecticut, actually.
Really?
At the lady with, I forget her name, but she had a horse stable and she was having issues. Pretty sure.
Okay. But there was no haunted item there. There was a haunting going on.
Right, and I think it was from the horses, if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Horses that passed away?
I don't remember. She had stables and she was having issues. We came in and I feel like, I should have reviewed all our old cases. It's somehow connected with the horses.
So, Vicky, what do you sense off this picture?
I mean, it probably, did you guys bring in somebody that was an expert that could in tune with the animals?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the best thing to do. And but like I said, I mean, animals tend to hang around a lot longer than humans do.
They do.
But I've never seen anybody help, like calm down a spirit animal.
I know that apartment we're in was so hot and humid in there. It was so hard.
Hard to keep your cool when it's really hot.
Yeah.
So, what'd you discover in this one particular case?
Rich, I'm old. I remember there being some kind of somebody, I don't know if they wrote something on the pavement or on the floor, like some kind of symbol, and I remember the horses.
Okay.
That's all right now.
Was that in the stable or in the house?
No, I feel like it was outside because we were talking about it outside in front of where the stables were. And there's actually pictures of us in front of her stables.
Okay. I always like to throw little twists into, this. You've been watching our show since we started. And it's not to put anyone on the spot. It's just to create conversation. And I know that there's another pic here that our producer has. And go ahead and shoot that pic up, please, Jen.
Oh, I think that's in the firehouse.
Ah, the firehouse.
Firehouse.
Okay. So
stuff behind it.
So I'm noticing that you were lead investigator there.
I love that. The only one.
Yes. So I mean, one thing's for sure, John is very loyal to his peeps, and that's what I've always liked about him when it comes to that. But what exactly do you recall? Can you recall something from that case that you could possibly fill us in with?
I don't remember what the item was from that case. I know that much.
So there was an item.
Yeah, I think in almost every other one there was. The horse one is getting to me though, because I don't remember 100%. So I might have to get back to you on that one. But the firehouse, I'm trying to think. The building was so old, and it was in this old section of it was their current town, but it was really, really, really old. All brick walkways kind of thing. And it was weird because the firehouse was in the middle, and then there was buildings around us that were vacant.
Mm.
And for whatever reason, the firehouse was getting a lot of activity, but I don't remember what the item was from that one.
What has been your experience when it comes to the most haunted of locations? Like I've discovered hospitals are usually the most haunted, especially abandoned ones. How about you?
For me, so Presney got invited to go observe somebody's house. They didn't want any help. They just said, we want you to come see what's going on, and that's it. So we went to this house, and do you remember the movie Ghost?
Yes, of course.
Okay, the black, evil shadows that would come out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
There was little black shadows running around the basement of this house. So we were like, all right. And we went upstairs, and John was downstairs in that area. And when he came up, he looked like a little startled, and we were like, is everything okay? And he's like, my crucifix just got yanked. Whoa. And that was probably the scariest thing for me, because to see him even tilt a little to the being a little uneasy, I was like, okay, now this isn't good. So that's probably the most haunted.
Oh. I see Vicky's mouth moving, but I don't hear her talking.
Have you found any correlation between the typical type of items that tend to be haunted or have something connected to it? Are they things that were toys? Were they made of metal? Were they made of wood? Is there any correlation between the articles?
Not really. I mean, if you, for example, at John's, where all John's stuff is, I mean, there's clothing items, there's crucifix, there's dolls, there's clothes there was the Hartford Circus fire, which was many, many, many years ago. And he actually has this little girl's dress there. There's no rhyme or reason to anything, because everything's so different. It's different time periods, different elements. So I don't see any correlation with that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would imagine anything that was attached to any kind of tragedy, maybe cursed, would end up in John's museum. I don't know. Me personally, I would never. I've always told the man, no. I just can't. If I find out one item, it could potentially have something attached to it. It's out. It's gone. And I'm sure you're the same way too.
It's gone to John. I did have one thing I bought that was haunted, and my mother, I was still living at home at the time, was like, you're not keeping that in our house. She's like, you can go put it outside in the garage. So I drove it to John's, and it's in his museum now.
Wow. So would you say so you've been in and out of the paranormal here and there ever since you left the Haunted Collector show? But would you say that it's something you just can't escape?
Yes and no. I mean, I've mentally been able to check myself out. Because there have been points when I just need to be away from it. But then there's also the little creeping in of, oh, hey, maybe I missed this a little bit. Maybe I want to do more again. So, but I can check out if I need to.
You know, what's funny is I remember our conversation a few weeks back, and you said, because of your show, I've now regained, or your show has rekindled my interest in the paranormal again. And what did I tell you? You can never completely get out.
I know. And John always says that too. You never, once you get in, you can't ever completely get out.
It's true. It's true. Have there been any projects that you've thought of getting back into again when it comes to the paranormal?
I mean, I'm open to anything. There's nothing in particular that's, knocking down my door, but I'm open to, doing things, conventions, speaking, any of that stuff. I'm kind of open to everything.
Okay.
I would think a good way maybe to kind of get your toe back in is maybe do some consultation for other teams. Think about it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I think someone that has the experience that you have, the mentoring that you got from the Godfather of the Paranormal, and what you learned along the way is something that has more value than its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Even though my team's name is the Paranormal Consulting Agency, we mostly consult on paranormal, but we also go on into residential situations. But there have been situations where both Vicky and I have actually consulted by phone, depending on the situation. What's the one thing that's drawn you the most into the paranormal? Has it been haunted items, or has it been haunted locations, haunted people? Has it been demonic situations?
Not demonic, for
Not
sure.
demonic. Okay.
But all of the above. Yes. I mean,
Yes.
It's everything.
Okay. And right when it came to books, and this is something I really think you should think of doing, is writing a book about your experiences, your personal experiences with the paranormal, and your take on it. Have you even thought of writing a book about this?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Beth, you would have so much to offer. I'm telling you right now. I think Vicky would agree with me too when it comes to that.
If you need help, I'm a writer.
She'll be your ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Perfect. Who's going to want to pick that up and read it?
Oh, trust me.
There's plenty of people.
Yeah, there's plenty. Vicky, do you have any other questions? I mean, we have 2 hours to go, and we haven't even scratched the surface.
Well, not 2 whole hours to go.
Well,
Beth looked a little panicked when you said that. Oh, what's the time? No, but I know what you were saying. Like, you get sucked in. I know there are times where I wanted to step back, and something would happen, and I'd be drawn right back in.
Yeah.
So how long of a hiatus have you had?
Long. We're talking, I mean, at least maybe 2 years until I started watching you guys again. And then I was sucked right back into the vortex.
Let me tell you.
I shouldn't say 2 years, because I've done stuff within 2 years. So I have done, I've done stuff with Brian in the last 2 years, but full-fledged on it, it's probably been a while.
When it comes to Brian, because I've never worked a case with Brian, but I have seen him speak at one of the conventions that we were both speakers at. Incredible speaker. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And ironically, we have him coming on to the show next week.
Oh, fun.
And you may want to make a surprise appearance then, but it won't be a surprise because I just announced it. But what did everyone bring into the team? And I'm not talking about the Haunted Collector. Prisony.
Well, now you're going to make me think of a bunch of different people.
Dan Leroy, I'll start off with that because that's one of my favorite peeps right there.
Yeah, he is so sweet. He's the nicest guy. Very smart, very artistic, creative. He's and he's funny. I love Dan. Yeah.
And he was the techie guy.
Yeah, he's a tech, legit Ghostbuster. He's on some Ghostbuster team thing.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he wears the overalls. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Why am I not surprised about that when it comes to Dan? There was so many characters that I'm sure you learned from Prisney, but when Haunted Collector got started, I think you were the only Prisney member along with John, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how did everyone else get chosen? Just by the producers or?
Producers, John sent in all of the candidates, so to speak. And then like Brian, for example, Brian and I got called to do a test. So we tested at John's house, which is the weirdest experience. And so, I mean, my assumption is everybody tested and then they said, okay, this is who we want. And they said, let's go.
Fascinating. So was John's son and daughter just a shoo-in because they were related, or is it because of their experience?
Both, I think.
Both? Okay, yeah. That
Which isn't bad because they're great too. And
yeah, they are.
You gotta remember, I've been with John so long. Chris was little when I met John. So I saw him go and then go through high school, and we'd be in John had it was like a kitchen down on the bottom floor, but it's not their kitchen, if that makes sense. And we would sit around this big table down there, and he'd come in, through the garage and say hi to everybody, and you just watch. So I've been watching him since he was real young.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody on a team brings something special to the table. What would you say your special thing is on a team?
I mean, I'm not psychic. I've always said that I'm not psychic, but I do feel, see, hear things. So that was what I was able to bring.
I also think your plethora of experience.
Well, maybe a little bit.
And I think you were the one that kept everyone balanced. When it came to the show, that's what I noticed about you. You approached everything with logic, which is what you need to do. You need to have that one or everyone be thinking logically. Could it be this? Could it be that? And, debunk what you can along the way. Or else then everyone is adding to the problem instead of solving it.
Right.
And I felt that you were the one that kind of had the balance of everything. Brian was the one that approached everything through science.
Yeah.
John, come on. I mean, John is a walking museum of the paranormal. So he knows what to look for. When it came to all the other members, do you feel they held their own weight?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Chris was definitely more on the techie side with Brian.
Okay.
And then Amy would delve into the history because that's what she liked, but she did not want to do anything as far as investigating with us. She was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll keep doing the history stuff and doing your digging, but that's it.
Is that what you really love?
Me?
Yeah.
I do. I'm obsessed with history.
Okay. So you were the history buff there. You were the one that pretty much, as soon as you found out where you were going, you were already going through the pages looking.
No, not. I mean, see, you got to remember a lot of the things that we did weren't public location. I mean, yes, there was the firehouse and there was St. James Hotel, but all the other stuff was like private residence.
So would you go to?
Well, Amy would. Amy was the. Amy was, and she'd go to town hall or and find out information for us. She was the one that would dig and get everything we needed.
Okay. Do you find that is what's needed?
Oh, you have to do that. You absolutely need to do that. It's just like when you first meet somebody, you need somebody on your team that's going to evaluate, their psyche. Is this something that's, medical? Is this something that's legit? And then you have to also know what happened in that location or what was there in the past.
What I've always done, our team always did the history after, because we didn't want to be influenced by what may have been found during the background check, so that we didn't gear our investigation one way or the other. So then we would do the investigation first. Then Bobby Joe on my team would do all the research, and then we'd see if we could match anything up.
Yeah. In the show, you would see, so Amy would go do the history thing, but we wouldn't get any of that information till the end either, which was, but you know, we still needed it.
I find that fascinating. You guys never brought in a psychic medium at all.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was a psychic medium that was part of your team for the Haunted Collector.
Right.
But I'm sure there were a few episodes where you guys may have worked with a few.
We didn't, but there were, as you know, when you're filming TV, there's so many hours of film, and they cut it into an hour show. So there were instances where we were like, I remember John and I being in, we were in the St. James Hotel, and we had something very legit going on, and we were going with it, and then the producers were like, okay, we don't want to go that route, let's go look at this stuff. And it's like, why not? This is what we're here for. And then so they let us continue on, but it never made it to the air.
Don't you hate that?
I do. It's frustrating. But I think it's done on purpose because they don't want to ever put something on video that is going to prove or disprove something, because it keeps people interested if you can't see it. It keeps the questions going. Like, that's my feeling.
I remember the first time I was on TV. And it was for an episode of a haunting. I did 4 hours of filming. And they showed me 7 seconds on the show.
So frustrating.
And I was like, wait, what? So,
and then they're chopping pieces too. So you're doing like on the flies at different points, and you're filming, and then it's pieced together, not the way it went.
Yes.
You know, which makes it hard sometimes too.
I'm gonna know what that's gonna be like come later on this year when my show hits the air. I want to see what they keep in and what they threw in on the editing floor. And
I have to give a shout out to Paranormal Caught on Camera. When I was on there, they pretty much used the entire interview, and it was in sequence. So I have to give them kudos because they didn't change it too much.
That's great. We there's an episode of Haunted Collector, and I don't remember which one off the top of my head, but it's so funny because you see us talking, and then you see us in the car. I'm in a completely different outfit. And I'm like, that's us driving around on a completely different day, but they tried to make it look like it was that day. And I'm like, how did they not? I mean, it was so obvious that it was like being in white and then being in purple.
I gotta find that episode now.
I'll look. I'll let you know which one it is.
What's the one location that you've always wanted to investigate but have yet to investigate?
2 places. Norwich Mental Hospital, which is in Connecticut.
Okay.
And the second one is probably not anywhere near as well known, but where I grew up, there was something called the Axe Murderer House. And I begged the people that own this from Presney, can we please go in and investigate this house? This man murdered his wife with an axe. There was still blood on the floor, like blood stains on the floor. The house was vacant for years. And I was begging them to let us in. They wouldn't let us in. And then somebody lit it on fire and it burned down.
You have got to be joking.
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
So on the flip side, where would you never go back to?
Probably. I mean, the house we went to with that wanted just the observation was definitely one I could not go back to.
Why?
Besides what happened to John, it seemed like they were, and I could be wrong on this, but it seemed like they had other ideas as far as what they wanted to do and how they wanted to gather people and segregate certain people of the group to get us away from each other, which wasn't good.
How many members went on that one particular case?
I mean, probably at least 8, but I mean, we're talking 20 years of being in the beginning and, cycling through different people. So, I mean, there is people like Dan that's always been around. And I think Dan and I might have been the only two that started from the beginning and made it through to the,
Wow.
to today. And then, some people would come and leave, and then we would get other people. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was just Dan and I that were like the last two standing.
Yeah, it's funny actually. You can include another one because I got the memo late. John one day, told me, "Hey, by the way, buddy, Prisoners no more." I was like, "No, it can't be, no." But I've already been promised that we're gonna go to his favorite diner next time I go, or if I ever go to Connecticut.
I told you that.
Yes, you told me that.
Then I go to a diner.
And if I finally get there, you know what? I'm all about
When you get here.
When I get there, I definitely have to investigate his museum.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Lock me in and just have some coffee and a cigarette waiting for me in the morning. I'm good to go.
You don't even know. You don't even. It's, and I haven't seen it in a while because of COVID and everything.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he is not exaggerating when he will show up and there will just be packages all at his house, and then he has to cart them out to outside to this like porch area that he has, and then it's kind of like a whole system that he has. They go upstairs, they go in this top room, then he goes through them and he blesses them and does what he has to do for them. Then they make it downstairs into the museum. He's got no room.
Well, he's run out of room.
No, he's out of room.
He literally told us when we had him on the show, he was our first guest, that it's all in his barn right now.
Yeah. And it's a lot.
And he just doesn't collect haunted items. I don't know if Vicky's aware of this, but he has a lot of film.
Yeah.
And I happen to know for fact that B over here, Beth, B's my name, my nickname for her, saw a really scary film. I believe you filled me in on this, and it was of a possession.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of film. So you have to, it's when you go in his office, there's film, there's every single tape recorded he's ever done. So I know he's still very old school as far as that. So, I mean, everything is there. He doesn't get rid of any of it. So there's just a plethora.
He's a hoarder.
Well, he's not a hoarder, but he's got everything. It's amazing.
Has there been any activity because he has all those recordings and the films that aren't in a special area? Is there a lot of activity connected with those?
Well, they're all that stuff is kind of all in the same area, and he definitely has activity, and he's had people come in and investigate it. So I know like Brian's investigated. Some of the guys from our team went in and did it one night. So there's definitely stuff going on.
Has he ever gotten an item and opened it and like, this isn't haunted? Why did they send me this crap?
I would say probably, absolutely. He gets some weird things. I mean, some stuff. I got to his house one day. He didn't have the scent. He picked this up himself, and I still, for the life of me, can't figure out how he got it to his house. But it was an old, and I don't remember the technical term for it, but it was this old wooden type bed that when a person passed, they would put them on this bed, and there was kind of like a headrest for behind the neck. It was, I want to say it was tribal, so to speak, but this thing was huge. I'm like, how the hell did you put this in your car and get it here? And he's like, yo, you don't want to know. Oh, I'm like, all right. But I mean, he finds the weirdest things and then somehow manages to get them home.
I find it amusing. You haven't taken in the same, way.
Collecting stuff?
Yeah, collecting stuff.
Listen, I got enough regular crap in my house. I don't need to add haunted items to it, okay? I collect books.
I do remember you and I had a discussion a while back. What was the name of the book? Good Lord. You just had.
About, actually, it's probably sitting here. We were talking about the Encyclopedia of Witches and Demons. That one.
No, the necro.
Oh, the Necronomicon.
Necronomicon. Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, girl, what are you doing? Nah.
Well, do I have it here? I'm trying to think. I have a picture of actually in Ed and Lorraine Warren's museum, and they had a copy of that book. And for the life of me, it is on my Facebook page, but for the life of me, I still to this day don't know what this thing is. And it looks like a little skeleton dog on top of it. Like you can see the eyes are hollowed out and it's got kind of a weird head. I'll have to send it over to you. I don't know what it is, but it was on that book.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, if you can find that book while we're on commercial break, you can come back on like this.
Well, no, I have a picture of it. I can probably send you the picture. I have that.
Okay. Because that was one of those wiggiest books. Vicky, have you ever read through the Necronomicon? Sorry.
No.
Necronomicon.
Yeah, Necronomicon. It's such a hard word to pronounce for me. Always has been. I've gone through it twice, but I've had to, even though it's considered fictional literature.
Right.
At the same time, there's a lot of occultish type influences in it.
Yeah.
And demonologists like myself have to go through things like this as well. Unfortunately, I felt it was mind and eye candy at the same time, more than anything else. But it's a good point of reference for certain things. I found it fascinating that you decided to go through something like this. Someone that doesn't even want to be in demonology or study anything of that side of the paranormal. What drew you to that book in the first place? Just cause?
I collect any kind of books like that. Anything to do with the paranormal. It doesn't mean gravitating towards one,
No, I know.
demonology or all that. So, I mean, I want to at least have information on as much as I can so I know what we're dealing with. And then if it's something that bad, that's not my problem. That is John's problem or your problem.
Thanks. Still love you anyways.
Sorry.
It's kind of like Vicky. If she ever comes across something demonic, she's like, Rich, guess what? I'm like, all right, what now?
And that's because I realize that I have a specialty and I stay within my specialty. And I am grown up enough to know when I get something that's not my area, I hand it right off.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yay me. All right, so these you have your bucket list. What would you take off your bucket list of things that you thought of doing and then you said maybe not now?
I don't think there really is anything.
Oh, okay. So you still have that adventure streak in you.
Oh God, yeah.
That's what I love about her, though. She's all grown up. She's married. She's got a beautiful little family and everything. But you give this girl a chance, she'll be the first one in that door to investigate.
Yes. Heck yeah. But I just want to point out that I am not older than you.
Okay. All right. I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to ask how old you are, but I know you're way younger than I am. But you had quite the introduction into the paranormal, of which Vicky and I will forever envy you, because I wish, and I'm sure she does too. But just knock. Hi. I'd like to learn about the paranormal. Well, come right in.
Yeah, she was sitting with Zappos and I was watching Scooby-Doo.
It didn't go that smoothly. It was a lot of bugging, John.
Okay.
Like, up, hey, and then finally, I guess he was just like, all right, she's not going to leave me alone. So, want to join my team? It's like, yes.
Oh God. the scariest moment you've ever had. And don't tell me it was just that one residential place.
No, definitely not. It was scary, but not just because it startled me, not because it was actually very scary. The Farnsworth House, which is in Gettysburg.
Okay.
They do lectures in the basement, and you can go down in the basement, and there's this door that says "Do not enter." So I'm like, I'm going through that door. You know, that's where I want to go. And I got to right before the door, and somebody grabbed my thighs like in front, and I was like, okay, maybe I won't go through that door because they don't want me to. And come to find out later, we were in the attic. We were doing like a dowsing session, and the woman that worked at the Farnsworth said that, you know, that was a little boy that was run over outside that grabbed you. And because of my profession, that's why he gravitated towards me. Which was, in the moment, it scared me. But then I was like, okay.
It would have been, the handprints would have been at level to a child.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have this picture here that our producer's showing me. Just give me a run. Sorry, I'm going to have to hit your memory again here.
It's not that good. Oh, God. Oh, was that our first? Oh, I can't tell with John. His clothes confuse me. I feel like that was our very first episode.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I really don't. No, that wasn't. No, that's from California.
Okay.
And the woman had a little knick-knack that was given to her, and that was what was haunted. I remember that one.
So it was a knick-knack, not a paddywhack.
Right, exactly.
All right. So you guys are also in another picture, and I'm hoping my producer can get to it in time, where you guys are traveling somewhere. And there it is.
Oh, God, yeah. John looks thrilled.
He always does. He can't help it. But yeah, okay. So wow, we lost it. Okay, there we are. So in this one, okay, so would you guys literally after filming what you're discussing where you're gonna go, you still went ahead and discussed it after you stopped filming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and I would imagine you were planning out your next move when it came to this one particular case. This was just about every case.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you know, yes, you can plan, but you might not be able to go through with that depending on where you're being taken,
Right?
Or where they're going to set you up.
Did you find that to be more exciting not to know exactly what you were up against, just finding out when you got there?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely helps confirm some things that may come later for us, which is helpful. We were in the dark until we literally got somewhere. We couldn't know anything. And I mean, even as far as like what state we were going to, sometimes we wouldn't know till we're getting to the airport where we were going.
I think Vicky would like it that way, being she's a psychic medium.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, just blindfold me, put me on the transportation, and drop me off where I'm going.
That's basically, what would happen.
So you guys were treated like psychic mediums, basically.
I mean, yes and no. More on my side for being the sensitive person, the one that would feel stuff. But also to confirm to Brian and Chris, who are on the techie side, that maybe there really was something going on.
And do you feel that everyone there was on board on the same page when it came to any and all phenomenon? Did they buy in right away?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay.
And I'm sure they, again, with them cutting things, but like I can remember Brian and I at one point, and I don't remember if they were filming us, we're like going back and forth about it at one point because, he's more of your logic person, logic. And yes, I am into logic, but I also know that there's other explanations for stuff. And I remember just fighting with him back and forth, and we were bickering like an old married couple. And, but so it wasn't always, yes, we are, we all agree on this. There definitely was, those different personalities meshing together, but it worked for us.
It's hard to come across chemistry, but when you finally get it. So how difficult was it? I mean, you were on for how many seasons? You yourself?
Season 1.
Season 1.
Yeah.
And there were 3 seasons?
Yeah.
And of course, life takes over and whatnot. You missed it, I'm sure.
I what?
I'm sure you missed it.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it comes to a point where you have to make decisions about your life, and, either one of those decisions, it could change your path. I just know that if I stayed, I probably wouldn't have the things that I have now that I would never give away.
Right.
And it just, if that show had come 5 years earlier, it would have been a totally different story. And I mean, I'm still grateful for the season that I got. The other hard thing is that, they literally called me and said, we're going in it was like a week. So I have a job. So I have to tell my job, well, I'm leaving and I don't know when I'll be back. And then you come back, you're done filming, the show airs, and you're sitting waiting to hear if you're getting season 2. We aired in, I believe, May or June. By September, October, I was like, I need to get another job. I need funds. I wasn't going to live off those episodes forever. It's not, it's not this huge amount that you're getting. And finally, by October, I said, I have to get a job. And I took a job, and literally the next day, they're like, season 2 is coming back. And I'm like, you guys you're killing me. I literally just took a job. And I mean, there was other factors into it too. I was engaged and I couldn't tell anybody I was engaged. I couldn't wear my engagement ring on the show. Like, all of that was, blacklisted. Couldn't talk about that. So it was hard to kind of live in that, in that person that couldn't fully express who they were. I didn't like the hiding, but I didn't have a choice. So it is what it was, and
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Exactly.
Do you feel that a lot of the rules that they place on you when you're on a series are actually needed, or do you think there's really no need for some of them?
I understand where they come from. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I get why they want things to, pique people's interests, whatnot. I get that. Do I think it's all necessarily needed? Probably not. You want to be your most authentic self. So it just becomes kind of a gray area, but I don't think it's all needed.
So I know exactly where you're coming from, because I've been there, done that. I started filming in 2021, December of 2021, and the pickup shoots, which was April of 2022, and then we finally got word November of last year when we were going to air, because at that time you don't even know if your show's going to air at all. But when you get confirmation, you're like, okay, cool. All right. But wait a minute. It's another year. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because you're being asked to take a break. Life take a break, and you can't do that.
Right.
So your advice would be for those that could potentially be on a show, don't quit your day job.
No, I mean, if you have the opportunity, I would say take it if you can. If you're within the means of being able to do it, I would never take back doing it. It's probably one of the best experiences. It's just that there's that first picture of, oh, you're going to be on TV and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Yeah, that's great, but you have to remember, column B, where, like I said, you're traveling all the time. You're living out of a suitcase. You don't know when you're coming home, and that can break somebody down.
Yes, it can. Vicki, any questions before we go to break?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be a quick one or a short one. considering the fact that you've dealt with all these cases and haunted items, do you believe in curses?
Yes. Just because we have been taught so many different fields of the paranormal. So, no, I do think that they do exist.
Have you found them in particular relation to any type of belief system?
No, but I'm trying to think. There was one that involved like a lot of teenagers, like puberty, in that age of puberty when they were changing over. There was one case in particular that I can remember.
Poltergeist.
Yeah. And it wasn't like it was weird because the place that all these people lived was a little island off near Long Island, and the island was basically the same family that had inhabited it for years, and the families were just growing and growing and growing, but it was the same family. And that's where, so within that family there was a case with some kids that had just hit puberty. So I don't know if because it was always owned by their family, if it had to do with that, in addition to the puberty, because we all know, when puberty hits, that's a perfect age to try to, have activity.
But did it stop, or was it just a certain amount of time that this was happening?
It eventually stopped. President went out there, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there was stuff going on that like you couldn't even imagine. But once we would figure out what needed to be done, whether you had to have an exorcism in the house, whether you need to have a blessing, there was other team members that went in and did that.
And of course, John would be the first one sent in if it came to something like that. I totally feel you when it comes to that, because it's so difficult. People, and we've had these conversations, and we've talked about it on the show oftentimes when it comes to poltergeist. Poltergeist activity happens in any situation. So it can happen at any time. But before we go any further, we're going to take a break and give our sponsors a chance to, let everyone know, hey, we're here, But we'll be right back with Beth and our surprise guest. So stick around. Don't go anywhere.
very. The feedback's.
And we're back to Greetings from Beyond Radio with our special guest, Beth Ezzo, and longtime friend and ex-member of Prisony. But I'm also going to introduce our special surprise guest. And so let's have our producer bring on our special guest.
Hey.
Who is that?
Hey.
Hey, sweet. How's it going, sweet pea?
Good. How are you? It's so
Good.
good to see you.
Good to see you. I know. We live in the same state, half an hour apart. We don't even see each other.
Welcome back on the show, John. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good.
Good.
Doing good.
He kept it even a secret from me.
Yeah.
Because he knew that I'd get a little too excited if I knew you were coming back on the show. So it's like, I'm not even telling you.
I have to come back on, Vicky, for one of my kids.
Yeah, and we've heard that Beth just pestered you for I don't know how long until you finally let her come in and learn from the Godfather. And you were 16 years old, right, Beth?
Something like that. Yeah. I don't
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I sent you that picture that I found. Well, I sent it to John too. Remember that picture I just
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
Like a baby.
Yeah.
So we've been here talking about The Haunted Collector, the show that both of you were on.
Don't touch that.
Yeah. Well, you got to talk about something, you know? And
No, that's what I used to yell all the time.
well, we'll talk about that. What the hell was that?
No, that definitely. Beth, you got to talk about some of the good times behind the scenes.
Oh
I
my
mean, you know what? One part of it that I really enjoyed, and especially with first season, was having all five of them because all five of them would talk and gang up on me. And you laugh over there, and they would think I wouldn't know what was going on. Then all of a sudden, I would turn around. I know yous are all plotting. I know what yous are all doing. But it was cool. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
We got
I
to
bet.
do things by ourselves too. Like we went to the Magic Castle one night, which not everybody can do that, but we got to go.
Yeah. You know, Beth, I was just talking about that recently with somebody else too, because it's not often you can get an invite to go in there. It was a magician that I was going back and forth with. He goes, "You're kidding me." He goes, "I didn't know, you were connected like that." I go, "Well, I wasn't, but somebody from our production company was and got us in and we got to see, a couple of the things." And I said, "Do you remember they were trying to get us to be able to film in there, but the elders wouldn't allow it?" Yeah.
Take pictures in there. I took one picture outside. That was it. You couldn't take any pictures or you were out.
Yeah, you were right out. I remember all that. Yeah.
But
That was a cool place to get into.
Yeah.
The infamous Magic Castle that no one, unless you're a member, has ever been able to see anything in there, unless they've actually allowed it onto a magazine, and it's like an off area that they won't allow people to see. But I that must have been an experience for you guys. Did you sense anything there?
I'm trying to remember.
I sorry.
God,
Man with
really?
the real phone line.
Come on.
You just never. I forget to shut it off. One of the few people still left with the landline, but I like that better than anything else. So, but I just gotta let it go through. Sorry, if I pick it up and hang up, they're gonna think I hung up on them. So I'll just let it go through. So, but anyhow, again, I don't know, Beth. What was one of your favorite times? Go ahead. You can tell. It doesn't matter.
I loved it. My favorite was doing the St. James. I think the St. James was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. As far as case that we did, just because that place is so full of history. But oh man, we had so many other fun times though. We were not the regular type of group. Like we legit got along, loved each other, and goofed off, horsed around. We weren't fighting, there was no animosity between anybody. It was just, we had fun no matter where we went.
No, that again too. That was the one thing I missed when, she had left after the first season, because it was to me it was just never the same. It was my 5 kids. That was it. That's all I cared about. And again, but we moved on and everything. But again, it's rare and far and few in between with any of the shows, especially today, where everybody literally had worked together or, were friends. Again, too, I can go right back to the beginning with Beth, and I remember her. She would make a couple of wisecracks at me at a mutual friend's house, and she'd turn around and she'd give me that look to the side, and I was like, "Look at that little shit."
No, I caught that look on film. I have a picture of it when we were in Arizona when we went to Tombstone like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That look, and somebody caught it. And I'm like, damn it, they caught me on camera. I do have it.
But I think it's helpful if you have those relationships when you're going into residential investigations and you put the resident at ease because they can see that the people coming in care about each other, care about them. And it's good for them to see those little funny relationships that you have on the side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With Prisney, I'm sure you guys had plenty of opportunities to do that. Beth touched on a case where Prisney was actually asked to just observe what was going on in a house. And you, Mr. Boss, had decided to go downstairs by yourself, I think, and you caught some cloud black forms coming from the ground. And you came upstairs with a look that she described as like, I ain't going downstairs after you came up. Now, Beth, you may want to refresh his memories because you guys have gone on.
She knows she has to now.
No, so maybe you remember this house was a house that they didn't want help, but we went into, and you had your crucifix yanked when you were downstairs, and you came upstairs. It was a 2-story, 2-level house, and you had your crucifix yanked, and you just had this look that I had never seen, and I was like, okay, he's uncomfortable, so now I'm kind of uncomfortable. But it was
okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing I'm going to say, it was a raised ranch, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now you're triggering my. I forgot about all that.
I know.
It's a good thing so many of you remember the stories, and then as somebody starts telling me something, I go, "Oh yeah," or I'll be talking to Debbie or something when she's writing something up, and 2 days later I'll go, "Now I remember it," and she goes, "That's why I do what I do. I throw it at you, let you think about it for a couple of days, then you'll go, now I remember it." So yes, I do remember that because it was a peculiar case, a bizarre case, because again, if memory serves me correct, we got involved because one of the family members wanted us to come in, but the rest of the family did not.
Right. They didn't want help.
Correct. They did not want anything done. And it was a difficult thing because I remember afterwards, because there's a handful of times that I can remember, my crucifix ever getting lifted up. And that, that's pretty hardcore when that does occur and happen. So again, and as soon as she started mentioning a few of those things, I was like, okay, now I'm remembering it.
And then do you remember?
But again, yeah.
Tried to segregate. I was one of the people they tried to segregate. We were in the kitchen, and then there were some people in the living room. But you picked up on the fact that they had kept pulling me to come sit with all of them. Mm-hmm. And you told me not a good idea, so I didn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Again, with cases that like Beth's describing, not only do you have to be concerned about what you're dealing with on a supernatural level, a lot of times you got to be careful what you're dealing with the physical people that are there. Yeah. Not that I thought at that point in time, there was going to be anything too hardcore going on or anything, but, again, when you start separating and you go into different areas, which I'm phenomenally known for myself, you shouldn't do that. But again, it's a trait I think a lot of us have that, if we hear something or something's going on, we react to it and don't think at the moment because you just never know what's going to occur or what's going to happen. Again, people think it's a lot of times it's just that you have to be concerned and wonder what's happening on a supernatural paranormal level in a home. But a lot of times we don't know those people. Those people don't know us. So you're really taking a chance when you go in to start investigate. You don't know. You just don't know. I mean, I'm even more guarded today than I ever have been before because the world's just too freaking nuts for me now.
Yeah.
So it's I'm even
True.
I am so guarded, with just jumping into doing something. And again, I never used to think twice about Beth will even tell you this. I would even go by myself sometimes if it was local to go do an interview or see if there was something going on. Would I ever do that today? Absolutely not. I don't want to end up in the river somewhere. No.
But we would have meetings. I think it was on Thursday nights, and we would come, and you'd be like, "Oh, I just went to this place in this town." You would go into like Massachusetts sometimes by yourself, and we're all like, "Yeah, you would just jump in the car and go if you got a phone call."
Yeah.
We had a case
days.
one time on Florida Ghost Team, and we were in this residence of this elderly man that we weren't sure if there was dementia or something, and somebody sat on the couch. There was a gun. He had a handgun.
I was on that case.
Yeah, we had a handgun, and that's really, put it in perspective for us that it's safety first, for sure.
There was actually bullet holes in the wall. He had taken shots at these ghosts that he was seeing.
Yeah, this little tiny creature with a big red nose.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, what? You got a gun? What? Okay, that's when you have to really have your defenses up, and you have to be, really careful because, and I'm going to bring out a name from the past with John. This was a case that involved Sean Jones as team lead.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
And he knows Sean from back in the day. In fact, that's how John and I started talking back in the day too. And she's disappeared. No one knows. We don't know where she's gone, and I'm hoping, praying to God she's still alive. But that case was fascinating. That was the first time I ever met Vicky. And I'll never forget it because I remember the bullet holes on the wall. I remember the old gentleman saying that, no, if they come around, I'm going to shoot them. And we were like, we may want to think about leaving this case because this guy's not all there. And there are situations like that where you actually, if Vicky hadn't brought it up, I would never have thought of that. But yeah, it's one of those cases that do stick with you. But it kind of like what happened with you, John. You kind of put it in the back of your mind because it was that traumatic. And that's why I was putting on my glasses in the first place. Because, so tell me, how is it? When did you start feeling like this? I do not have a couch for you to lay on, but please, share with me your feelings.
It's that's a loaded question right there.
So, Beth, I'm sure that time that you spent not only with Haunted Collector, the show, was something that will stay with you for the rest of your life, but also knowing that you can actually now with your little girl tell people and your little girl down the road, I worked with John Zaffis and his team, and I was on a TV show, and that's not something that a lot of people ever have a chance to say. How does that make you feel? I mean, not I'm not pumping your ego up here, but
no.
it's I'm sure something that you can share and be proud of.
Oh God,
knowing.
I'm so just honestly honored to even not to just know John, but for him to open his door to me.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he's a walking book. And, I know that there's many, many people that would love to be in those shoes and be able to work with him and do stuff. So I'm so honored, and I'm humbled by the relationship we have. I'm really, really lucky.
He won't open his door to me. I've tried. I've even camped outside his door, and he just says, "Hell no."
I was going to use your same technique.
I've been trying to get rid of him for freaking years, and he's like a boomerang kid. I always love it because, again, too, it'll be like, okay, Geez, I wonder whatever happened to him. And then all of a sudden, boom, there he is. He'll pop right back up again. And again, but that's not unusual for a lot of us. We,
Yeah.
we'll be out in the forefront, and then boom, we disappear into the woodwork, and then boom, we come right back out again.
Yeah.
So, but again, with a lot of things, that's an important thing. And I always tell people, when you have other things going on, you have family things going on, you have something, personal issues or anything like that, always do what is best for you. And family should always come first. It's always been that way with me, and it'll never change. If there's, issues going on with a family member and I need to be around or something, everything gets canceled, and that's it, because that just takes the priority to, as far as I'm concerned. And again, that's an important, that tells me a lot about an individual. When they do that, or they take that step back and go, I'm making a decision to do this or to do that. And, again, I respect that, and I respect that in people when they do things like that.
My fondest memory of John was in Mid-South.
Probably screaming and yelling at somebody.
Yeah,
right?
that too. that was fun, actually, because the person deserved it. Anyways, but no, that's very far and few between. But my fondest memory was I went up to his table and I said, John, I'm gonna go to the Dairy Queen and get something to eat. You want something to eat? Of course, I was gonna pay. And he's like, get me a hamburger. Actually, it was a cheeseburger. Make sure it's a hockey puck. I don't want it, semi-cooked or anything. I want it burnt. All right, and some fries and a Pepsi. Am I right or am I wrong?
Beth, what was my big demand when we ate? That's why she's laughing, because when you're out filming it, we had a big crew. They don't have it like that anymore. Now it's a lot less people and everything. But I mean, we'd have 25 to 30 people. They'd bring in this big buffet and everything. A lot of times they would bring in health food and everything, and I would look at it and go, what is this shit? I don't eat this rabbit food, right? And everybody would be like, like that. I said, I want a burger and I want my fries.
And coffee.
Yep.
And coffee.
And coffee.
And coffee.
Okay, Beth, I believe this was season 1. You might remember this.
Okay.
What was my requirement? Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
In the morning.
And I didn't think I was asking for all that much.
Sometimes we were places where there was only like Starbucks around. And he would be like, what do you mean there's not a Dunkin' Donuts near here? There's just none.
And I would piss and moan about this, right?
Yep.
What they did at one time is they had a bunch of the bags. I think this was season 1, and they used up all the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Somebody ran down to the store, bought the 5 and 10 coffee, dumped it into the bags, closed them up, and they're making coffee. And I'm drinking my cup of coffee, and I'm just looking around, not saying anything. I walked up to the person and I go, this is Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Here's the bags. I went over to the garbage can and pulled out the other bags that the coffee was in and brought it over. I go, that's Dunkin' Donuts, is it? And the girl just stood there, shook her head. She goes, you're freaking unbelievable. She says, you are unbelievable. I said, that's all I ever asked for is my Dunkin' Donuts coffee. That's all I ever ask you for in the morning.
I feel like that happened when we were taking our our promo shots that morning when we were.
Did it?
I think that's when that happened.
I don't know, but as all I know is I could remember that, and I finally gave in when I finally realized you went Midwest and out to the West Coast, they didn't have Dunkin' Donuts, so I was screwed. So I had to drink whatever there was. So, anyways, I gave into that part of it.
Oh boy, boss, let me tell you something. One thing, by the way, Justin Curtis, looking forward to seeing you at West Texas Paracon, Mr. Zappis.
Me too. It's my first time, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
One thing I've been thinking about is I think the Haunted Collector should have like a tour. I mean, you guys were like a band, and you should go together to Paracons. For God's sakes. I mean, honestly, your show was one of the best shows out there. I loved it. Not just because, Beth was on it, not that guy down there over here, but but I'd love to see all of you guys together, and it's a matter of getting everyone in on the same page, on the same tour, if anything. Do you think that could ever happen? What if I started working something out like that? Maybe getting you guys all back together again, having a reunion.
Well, that depends on how you look at it, on who's available, who is, Amy's back working full time. Chris, he's back. He works his job. Beth, he moved in with his girlfriend.
Oh my, no.
So they've been together for 3 years. But anyhow, Rich, I think a lot of times, especially back when I would try to get these different things coordinated where they would be able to bring everybody on, it would come up to with some of the other Puricons where, okay, we could bring one, we could bring two, but we can't bring the whole group.
Mhm.
It would get crazy with trying to do it. And then when I would try to explain it to them, it would get even more crazy. It was like, well, how come they don't want me? Or how come they don't want this one? Or blah, blah, blah. It's the nature of it. Now, today, you'd be lucky, again, to be able to pull anything together, because now is all as they really want are the people that are on TV, the ones that are out there now.
Mhm.
Like my other adopted son, Brian, the hippie. I mean, again, Beth, you'll never know how mad I got at him when I found out he let somebody else cut that ponytail off. Did I curse him out? I said, all these years I've been threatening to cut that ponytail off, and you go and get a haircut and let somebody cut that ponytail off. I said, that would have been worth $1 million in gold for people to see that. But anyways, go moving forward now. Again, would I love to be able to see something like that? Absolutely. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I know logistics, the cost of everything now. I mean, it's really gotten crazy with a lot of stuff. So again, I'm not out doing something all the time now. Cheryl's retired. She's home. So a lot of times on weekends, I don't always necessarily like going out and doing everything weekend after weekend after weekend, unless it's October.
Your nose is growing.
Whose
John,
nose is growing?
Your nose. Because, you are constantly, you told me you've slowed down. And I remember I
have.
Yeah, but, I finally heard from you yesterday. It was like, sorry I didn't get back to you, buddy. I was out, doing another. I'm like, of course you were. Of course you were. So, Pinocchio, you got to chill out there. But, Beth actually brought up a good point. When I finally make it down to Connecticut, there's a diner that I need to go to when I come visit.
Well,
and
diner. John's a diner guy.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
But you know what? He puts in the time. He walks, and I know you go for your nightly walks and whatnot, and that's a good thing because, the amount of burgers you eat. When we go to the diner, I'm expecting to get good diner food. What was the name of the diner again, Beth?
No, I don't. I think it's not a particular one.
The Bridgeport one?
But
I think he's talking about the Bridgeport Flyer one that we used to go to all the time. I'm trying to remember the name of it myself. I don't even remember the name of it.
But I guess we go. I remember going to Gettysburg and we had to go to diners. Like we just.
That diner down there.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And they were just known for their breakfast. They would serve breakfast 24/7, and I love that diner down in Gettysburg. To be honest with you, I haven't been down there in a couple of years down in the Gettysburg area, but hopefully it's still there.
Where did we go? We went. What state did we go to? I forgot, but we stayed at some woman's house because it was a weekend thing, and she had a ton of cats. Do you remember that? And like you went to get in the shower, and this cat jumped out of the shower at you. I vividly, and I'm trying to think what state that was. If Maryland, maybe. But it was a woman you knew, and we stayed at her home.
trying to remember. I don't remember that one.
And she had so
You don't remember a cat running or jumping out at
she
you?
had like 10 cats, like legit. And one of them would stay in the shower, and then he went to get in the shower, and it like jumped at him, scared the everyone, what out of him.
I was surprised I don't remember that one. It's sad. Some of the craziest stories. I just don't remember. I'm trying to remember that one.
I have to get out my old file. I'll try to see if I have her name. But yeah, I think it was Maryland.
She has that on a file, John.
I have a file. I have an accordion file. I do.
She has a file out on you, John. Vicky, any questions for our guests?
Well, I had one earlier before you came on, John. Do you ever get items and you open them up and you're like, this crap isn't haunted? Why did they send this to me? What do you do with those items?
Oh, there are some items, definitely that I feel that, the possibility of something being attached to them. I don't think so. Again, but I've been proven wrong several different times. Items will come in, and what I used to do, Beth will remember that, I would pass it around to see, if somebody was picking up not the real hardcore stuff. And then I would be standing there going, they're picking up on stuff, and I didn't even think that there was anything to it, but yet, and some of it would line up with the cases or the stories, that were associated with it. So again, but it's usually far and few in between that happens. Usually, especially at this point now, there's 3 or 4 different cases I'm working on right now where people brought something in they thought, was causing major issues and et cetera. Tell the people, the different things to do. And sometimes people just say they don't even want to take the chance. They pack it up and they just automatically ship it. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, too, like I said, hoarders would have a blast out in the museum because the whole upper level, it's like I got this one little walkway and that's it now. Yeah. Everything is piled right up to the ceiling.
Boxes. There's a lot of people that wonder what you do if you have an item, if they're not going to send it to you. I know years ago, my sister actually had a haunted chest of drawers and a haunted doll. Mm-hmm. And she ended up keeping them for a really long time. She put the doll behind glass so that no one could get near it. But if someone doesn't want to send an item, to you or someone else, what is something they can do with that item?
Depending on what their belief system is, I will tell them to, if they're Catholic, Christian, tell them to do prayers, use holy water around it, put sea salt around it, and put it in an area where it's not going to affect or bother anybody. Because to be honest with you, and Beth has heard me say this many times, I don't want great-grandma's 5-carat diamond ring. I don't want to get in the middle of all that freaking crap. I don't. Because again, that's a family heirloom. I'll make all the recommendations I possibly can, put it in a safe deposit box, or whatever to try to resolve it. I've always done that. I continue to do that. And again, I'm not interested in really having anybody's family heirlooms. I'm really not. So again, I'd rather see a person keep it, and those are my recommendations. If it gets to a point where they feel, it's causing an issue, well, you know what? You got to make a decision like with anything else. Either you're going to take it out, get rid of it, or whatever the decision may be. That's up to the people.
So, Beth, what item that John has in his museum is the one item that creeps you out to the max?
He's got this black mask. That tribal mask? We've had it a while. It's in the book.
Oh, the one with the hair.
Yeah.
With the braided hair one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's
creepy.
But I don't like clowns, so it could be part that I don't like clowns, but the boys, as John calls them, the boys. I'm not a fan of them either.
Oh boy. So being a part, because let's face it, you're an adopted daughter of John and everything. What's it like knowing that you have such access to such rich history with John, the Warrens? I mean, they go way back.
Mhm.
And I mean, having that access and knowing, everything that's happened. I mean, they blaze trails. Both the Warrens and John have, knowing that you're a part of that legacy. And that is something that you will always have with you. And having access to their home. I'm sure John's not going to keep you out in the cold if he come knocking and saying, hey, just came over for some coffee and I brought some donuts. How does that make you feel knowing that you have that special relationship with John? Because I know he's like a dad to you in many ways.
Yeah. I'm really lucky. I'm like a spoiled stepchild because, I don't have to get all the political stuff. I just get the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's always the political stuff, unfortunately, that comes with all the, I call it paradrama, and there's been plenty of that going on these days with, some para celebs here and there. But that being said, I've noticed that John and you and a lot of people that are within his circle tend to stay away from it, including myself. I can't stand to be around paradrama. And I have to also give credit where credit is due. The one that actually guided me out of that was John himself. He told me years ago, and I'll never forget it, Richie, if it doesn't involve you, don't get involved.
Yep.
And I used to be one of those that would go, and get involved. Yeah.
I know.
And because of him, he literally called me up and said, Richie, stay out of it. If it doesn't involve you, don't get involved. And
no, say like I would say, it's none of your effing business.
That too, but I'm, this is kind of like a PG-13 show here, and you're turning it into a rated R show. So, but it's true. Nowadays, it's not worth the aggravation. Did you find that was prominent in the time that you were on the show? There was a lot of drama floating around B, or was it just, something that's been heightened even more 10 years after the fact?
I mean, the show itself, we would get comments about really ridiculous stuff. Like,
yes,
she can't be a serious investigator. She has sandals on. I'm like, seriously, when did my shoe attire?
What?
I can't investigate. Like, there was one that I remember that comment. There was, it was bad to look at stuff because I'd get so mad about dumb comments like that, but I would never respond. But you would not believe what would come out of the woodwork and the things people would say. But that one sticks out. My shoes, I had sandals on, so I can't be taken as a serious paranormal investigator.
Do you know how many times, Vicky, how many times have you seen paranormal investigators wearing flip-flops or sandals? Or, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, even to this day, I still see it. And I don't see anything wrong with that. That doesn't, define an individual as a paranormal investigator or not.
Right. But if you remember, when we were both at different times on Florida Ghost Team, Sean did have a very strict rule about our attire. And
That's
one
true.
of them was we had to wear closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
For safety reasons.
yeah.
That is true.
I understand that, but it was just, it was so freaking hot. Deal.
Well, Beth is actually being nice. And some of the comments, some of the crap that people would post out there, and again, you would read them, and I could just remember, Beth will even tell you that, I would just sit there and go, these people don't even know us.
Right.
They know nothing about us, and they're coming up with these crazy remarks. But now taking it 10 years later after, everything and watching the drama and watching what people say today.
Oh, forget it.
Woo!
Shut up. Easy.
We got off easy, and she's absolutely right. I mean, compared to, it's just mind-boggling, and just seeing it and hearing about it, because people, again, even though I might not get involved with or say anything publicly or anything about that, I hear about a lot of stuff, and again, it's just the nature of it, and I have no interest in commenting on a lot of that stuff. It's just not worth. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it really
There's
is.
a lot
And
of people way too much time on their hands.
I agree 110% with you guys. Our producer actually came up with some great ghost busting shoes. I wish he'd put it up on the screen, but I don't think John would go for these.
The Crocs, yes, those are awesome.
You'd never get lost in the dark wearing these shoes.
I'll put them in the museum.
I would wear these.
I would wear those.
I like these.
That's just maybe, I don't know, maybe the black ones. I don't know. I'm just saying it's funny nowadays that people will pick the stupidest things, even back when, with you, Beth, because you were wearing what, flip-flops or sandals?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. People need to get a life. And you can't compare, and it's true what you guys said. You guys got off easy compared to what's going on nowadays, and we all know what we're talking about nowadays.
We could tell a story with that. We did an event, and I was wearing flip-flops during the event, and those things are noisy. So everyone went to bed. We were sleeping at the actual location, and I'm like, I need to pee. The bathrooms are down the hallway. So here I am trying to sneak, but my flip-flops are like, all right. And we're like,
flop. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. And it's true. No. It's true. Jen had actually asked a question. When are you guys coming to Utah?
No plans in near future right now on me.
Come on. Because I keep getting asked the same question. When am I going to Connecticut?
Wait, how rich is Utah's paranormal history compared to Connecticut?
I think Jen should take over when it comes to that, because there's plenty. There's Asylum 49, but Asylum 49 is not.
Compared to Connecticut, I would say it's a lot lower than Connecticut, but there's a lot, especially in particular locations. I guess different cities have different, I don't know, different places that you could go. There's a lot of the Native American history. There's quite a bit if you actually look for it.
There's the Skinwalkers.
But
Yes.
there's so much here. You should come here.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yes.
Connecticut is rich in haunted history. Yes. I do agree, and I'm sure Vicky.
I am up for Dunkin' Donuts and diner food.
Yes.
No. Well, oh God. Donuts.
Yes.
My weakness when it comes to donuts, honestly, and I'm trying to remember the name of it right now. They always come in a white box, green lettering.
Oh, not the
Krispy Kreme.
I know you're talking about
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme?
Yeah, that's my weakness. Dunkin' Donuts may be boss's kryptonite, but Krispy Kreme is mine. I love it.
They're not really around here though. We
really?
I think there's They
didn't make it here.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's something I have discovered going around the country. There's a lot of things you won't find. Like in Miami, you won't find a Carl's Jr. at all.
We don't have that either.
Exist. Yeah.
I don't have that.
I don't think they've ever been here.
But they're all around here in Utah when I'm here. When I go back down there, I have withdrawals. So I totally know that. As we're coming closer to the end of the show, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to share their most fondest memories when it comes to their experience with the paranormal. I'll stay out of it, of course, but what is, and let's start with, guest number one, Beth, your fondest memory of where you actually went in, didn't know what you were getting into, but at the end you found the answers and you were able to actually solve the Scooby-Doo mystery, as we like to call it in the paranormal field.
There was no mystery to be solved, but my favorite memory is Gettysburg with John and a bunch of team members that came with us. Do you remember us going on the Sachs Bridge late at night? And
is that the time we were
fog? Remember that thick fog came in, and then we saw like a battle going out in the field.
That stays right. Stacy Jones was there that time.
Yeah.
And we got into a big screaming fight because she thought I set it up and had people out in the. You remember that?
Yeah.
She thought I put people out there, and was recreating that whole thing. And I'm like, Stacy, look around you. Everybody's right here.
Right.
And as I remember, she looked around. She was a cop, a former cop. So, the attitude, the way she looked at it and everything. So anyway, she turned it. She looked around. She walked right off. To this day, she still talks about that.
Yeah.
To this day, she still.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember Jeff Belanger. Jeff Belanger wrote up that story. I don't know if you remember that, of that night when that happened.
No,
So
I don't even remember that. Yeah.
One of his books. Brendan
wow.
talked to him, and he talked about how there were so many of us. It was very odd because there was a big group of us out there for us all to experience it at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
It was it was weird.
Becky Kronk says you should do a show at the Mohegan Casino. They have Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts.
Both.
Well, I know John would be there. And I'd be there too. Krispy Kreme. Hey, I can't turn that down, plus the coffee. So this was in Gettysburg, this experience that you guys had.
I mean, we were down there for a couple of days, so we got to see that in Farnsworth. And do you remember we got into that field hospital that had all the bat poop in it? We came out. There was one, the blonde female that we talked about the other day in our emails that was with us. I don't know if John's. Oh,
yes.
He was with us, and we got into this field hospital, but you couldn't see anything because it was so pitch black, and it was really, it was a unique experience as far as how it felt until you sat in bat poop, because the whole place was covered in it. And then I was like, okay, we're done. But no, that was probably my favorite memory, because it was a fun weekend, and we got history and we got ghosts.
That's a pretty good one. It really is. I
remember John was yelling at me because I was eating. They used to make pirate booty with kale. And I don't know if you know what that is, but he's like, what the hell are you eating? And I'm like, it's healthy food. He didn't want anything to do with it. But I remember him yelling at me in my car when I was sitting there eating it.
Oh, he won't eat seaweed. That's for sure. If it's not a hockey puck with cheese and fries, forget about it. Nope. But you know what? I totally get him when it comes to that. I'm old fashioned like that too, but I've had to cut down on that for some time now.
We all have, buddy. Yeah, all of us.
Yeah. As you get older, you see, you're still young, Beth. You could. Yes, you. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna ask, but John would know your age. I don't really know your age, but I know that you're still young. Look, my oldest daughter is 28 years old.
Oh, she's so lucky.
Yeah. So, that just gives you an idea. And Vicky, your oldest son is
35.
Yeah, see,
so
too. Funny, it's the 30s.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. We after a while, your body starts saying, hell no. And I know that's happened to Boss. I know it's happened to me. And I can't speak for Vicky. Has that happened to you yet?
Well, let's just say once the extended warranty is out on you, it's all downhill.
That's true.
I know. Then you got to pay for more. And that's what it comes down to. John, what's the most memorable, investigation you had with Beth? I call her B, sorry. Could be haunted collector days. It could be prison-y days. Doesn't matter.
I would just say, I don't want to go too much into depth, but a mutual friend, basically how we had met and gone back and forth. And the case was the real McCoy with a person that would go under possession. And I think that was one of the biggest turning points where I realized that Beth, was getting an understanding of it and realizing that these things really do occur. These things really do happen. And she would talk to me, periodically about some of the events that would occur and happen. And again, that was something that, again, to this day, I still look for that. When people have an interest, but yet they're looking at it, they're looking for the logical explanations, they're looking for things. And I remember her just looking at me and just saying, there's no way this can't be the real deal. This is happening. And again, that was one of the points there where I was like, she's going to make a good paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
Beth, how did that make that one case he's talking about? How did you feel at that moment in time when this man went under?
Well, it was a woman, and
It was a woman. Okay.
I had a very close relationship with her, and so did John, but on different sides. And she was basically the bridge that that brought me to John.
Okay.
And there was a lot of personal attachment to her. I really cared for her. There was a lot of medical stuff and paranormal stuff going on with her. So, there was days that I grappled with it because I loved this woman. Like you wouldn't believe. I really cared a lot about her. And it was hard to see what was happening to her. And honestly, nothing I could do about it. I couldn't do anything for her.
But that would have been the most gripping case of all, if anything, because it involved, personal relationships with this individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. Vicky, how about you?
Some of mine, we've had cases that just fit perfectly. The research matched the EVPs, which matched everything going on. We were able to do cleansings, but actually 2 that stick out were not paranormal. It was an elderly gentleman who was going through the early stages of dementia. And we, at the time I had a nurse on the team, and she said, listen, I think this is what's going on. So we recommended that he see his physician. And sure enough, he got put on medication and he stopped experiencing things. And that man reached out to us for a solid year in email to say, thank you for telling me what was going on. And the other was a case I went there and clearly the person was addicted to drugs. And I found them. I have someone on my team who's actually a mental health professional. And we were able to give him places where he could go for rehab and all that kind of stuff. And those really stand out because I always feel that if somebody else had come in, they probably just would have said, oh, you have a ghost, or you have this, or you have that. But the real issue was the mental illness and the drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that a lot of what's been missing when it comes to investigating nowadays, because oftentimes it's so much easier to investigate a commercial location than it is to involve yourself in a residential. And I've always been old school, where I prefer to help people that are having issues with the paranormal and help them understand what's going on. Also, being a demonologist, you kind of have to learn how to deal with people first, because it's affecting the people. And I feel this is what the paranormal has actually broken away from. It's so it's become so, how can I put it? Out of touch with the real issue here. And the issue is not the paranormal. The issue is not the person. It's either having them learn how to coexist with what's going on, or get rid of what may be causing a living hell in their lives at that moment in time. Because that in itself is where we have separated. And also the shows don't necessarily help. Although there's a few shows out there that I applaud them for actually helping families out, but it's very far and few between. Now it's commercial locations. And do you guys agree that this is what's going on nowadays, that there's this disconnect that's happened within the paranormal field?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there definitely is, but I can understand why. We don't live in that environment anymore. When going into residential houses, that you don't put yourself at some type of liability.
Yeah.
The people you're bringing in, it's a totally different world today. And I try to tell researchers, again, you got to be guarded what you let out there if it's a residential and a private case, or even, with other circumstances. It's a totally different environment now. And again, I'm very guarded with it. There's a lot of very good researchers I've seen over the past 4 or 5 years get themselves in some major
Oh yeah.
type of situations that normally it wouldn't have happened years back. But again, it's things have changed. Everything's changed.
Yeah.
It's no longer, Sweepy, come on, we're going to go investigate. We'd
Yep.
round everybody up. We'd go. People be
Yep.
taking pictures, doing EVPs. Everybody would be hanging out, and you'd be saying this or saying that. You can't do that anymore.
Nope.
You have to take that step back, and you have to look at the big picture. Okay, is something going to affect something in any other regards? And I think we'll put my guard up more with that than anything else. Just a simple fact of knowing several other paranormal investigators out there that ended up having legal issues after, just
After a
doing
case.
something so innocent, very innocently. And again, it's a different environment today.
Yeah.
Totally different. I'd rather go out and do the well-known established places, bring people, have a good time, because you don't have to worry about all the other stuff that ties in. That's why I think you see more people, or a lot of the shows focus more into, doing commercial hauntings and things of that nature, just so they don't have to deal with a lot of the other things that tie in today.
I have to agree. B, you agree too?
Yeah, 100%. Because not
Yeah.
only that, the liability, but people are losing their minds, I feel like.
They are.
I mean, it could honestly be a trap. You don't know, so it's both.
This is true.
I call it COVID. Anytime anybody,
That's what creates.
I still blame everything on the COVID. No matter what happens, it's COVID. It's the COVID effect. That's what's doing it. So, and it works. So,
Well, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show, and just so you both are aware, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere just yet. After the show is over, just want to say our proper goodbyes and thank yous. But thank you both so much for making it onto the show and sharing your experience with us, because not too many people get to hear of behind the scenes. And I always like, getting the behind the scenes kind of deal and getting everyone's perspective. You guys are awesome. And I love you both very much. You know that. And just like you guys have always had my back, I've always had yours. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
thanks. Good to be on again.
So stay on. Don't go anywhere. Just go to the green room, have some coffee and donuts. And, Vicky and I will take over from here. So next week, we're going to have Brian J. Kano on the show, for those of you that don't know. And also an alumnus of Haunted Collector. He's a great person, great people. I've met him I've lost count on how many times I've spoken to the gentleman, but quite frankly, is one of the true go-getters out there that knows what he's talking about. He's just not, out there doing paranormal caught on camera. And I'm sure Vicky and I are going to have plenty of questions for Brian J. When it comes to the show next week. So as we say and sign off and say our goodbyes to all of you out there listening to us, stay tuned for next week when we have Brian J. Kano from Paranormal Caught on Camera and also of Haunted Collector fame. Vicky, you want to say your goodbyes before we sign off?
All right. I just want to thank everybody that tunes in every week. That's making this
definitely
enjoyable. It's making it a success, and we can't do it without you.
Definitely. Like I've always said, this is all about you guys and all of us in a journey together, trying to learn at the same time. So, as I always end all our shows, live life. Don't let life live you. And peace be still. See you next week.